You good?
We good.
All right. Good morning again, y'all. I'm Kamari Andrews. I'm 19 years old. I'm from Brunswick, Georgia. Right now, I'm in college at Georgia State University, getting my degree in Africana Studies. And I plan on starting a school one day. Schools all around the country, all around the world. So today I'm gonna be introducing y'all to the Gullah Geechee people. These are my people. A lot of y'all have this in y'all's blood too, but probably just don't know it. So hopefully today I'll teach you a lot, and I'm sure you will learn a lot. Of course, I want to thank God for allowing us to be here. I know y'all in Gretna, right? School in Gretna?
Yeah, we in Gretna.
Yeah, so my mama and papa, they had a house on Tennessee Street in the Ninth Ward. And I always was interested in that part of myself in New Orleans. And I just went to a family reunion in Wiggins, Mississippi, if y'all ever heard of that. So it's crazy that this would be my first time talking out of school in New Orleans, and my family come from over that way, you know. So today, I'll just be teaching y'all who are the Gullah Geechee people, where do we live at, some ways that we are still connected to Africa, and we're still going to talk about some of our current problems and some of our current victories. So who are the Gullah Geechee people? The Gullah Geechee people are descendants of Africans who were enslaved on the rice, indigo, cotton, sugarcane, anything you could think of. We were enslaved on the plantations in the lower Atlantic coast, and many of us were sought out specifically by Europeans because of our rice growing expertise. So if you can see, can everybody see the map right here?
No, everybody can see it? Yeah, we all good. We can see it.
All right, so from like Senegambia to Sierra Leone down to the Windward Coast, sometimes they call that the rice coast. So right there, as African people, we have actually been growing rice for over 3,000 years, like a long, long time. So when Europeans came over here and decided they wanted to grow rice in America, they decided to go get us to come do it. The nature of our ancestors' enslavement, though, on isolated island and coastal plantations, created a unique culture with deep African retentions that are clearly visible in the Gullah Geechee people's distinctive arts, crafts, foodways, and music and language. So where I'm from, it's a very hot environment. And back in the days, you could still get malaria how you could in Africa in the coast of Georgia. So the people who owned these plantations, they wasn't living on the plantation with us. So somebody might be living in Boston or living in Philadelphia, but they might have a plantation down in Georgia. So because they wasn't necessarily on the plantation with us, it allowed us to keep a lot more of our African culture intact. So some of the main ethnic groups we derive from, to see if you know some of these names, the Baga people, the Fula, the Kisi, the Pele, Limba, Mandinka, Mende, Susu, Timne, the Vai people, the Wolof, also the Angola, the Yoruba, the Igbo, Calabar, Congo. These are some of the main ethnic groups that our people come from. So this is where we live. This is the Gullah Geechee Cultural Corridor, and it runs through the southeast coast of the Atlantic coast. So it goes from about Wilmington, North Carolina, down past Jacksonville, Florida. And if you see where Brunswick at, that's where I'm from right there. It's right in the middle between Jacksonville and Savannah. So actually over 40% of all the Africans who came into the US came through Charleston right there. And a lot of them came through the other ports on this side of the town or the country. Of course, in New Orleans, a lot of people come through Haiti first and then go to New Orleans because of the French connection. Over here, a lot of people might have stopped in the Bahamas or Barbados, places like that before coming to the United States. But of course, we have the Great Migration. We have all type of travel these days. So there's Gullah Geechee people everywhere you go. And some of y'all probably have Gullah Geechee ancestors. So the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor and the Federal Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor Commission was established to oversee that corridor. They were designated at the Congress on October 12, 2006 through the National Heritage Areas Act of 2006. But I have a question for y'all. Do anybody know the significance, the historical significance for Black people in America of this land?
Anybody know it? I think we got all those in here.
Okay, so anybody ever heard of 40 acres and a mule?
Any of y'all heard 40 acres and a mule? Yeah, we got some head shakes in.
Okay, so this land after the Civil War, so General Sherman, he went from Atlanta down to the coast and burnt everything down. And by the time he got to the coast, it was just a bunch of Black people just following behind the army with nowhere to go because they plantation had been burnt down, so they decided to follow the army. So the U.S. government, Abraham Lincoln, all of them, they signed papers saying that they was going to give this land to Black people, and this is going to be our own country. We was going to make our own decisions, and everybody was going to get 40 acres and a mule. Of course, by today, you can see that their promise was broken, but this is something very historical. Like, this is supposed to be our own country. And it's crazy to think about if Black people did have our own country. I still think we should have our own country, but this is in 1865. So you can just imagine what we would have built from 1865 with this land. So some of the African retention. So when it comes to the diaspora, you have retentions and you have ruptures. So when those people put us on boats in Africa and brought us over here, a lot of things changed within us, and we went through a lot on our own. So a retention, that's something that we've been able to keep from Africa, and a rupture, that's something that we might have had to let go or were forced to let go of. So this right here is basket weaving. So this, I don't know if y'all ever seen sweetgrass, but they take sweetgrass and make these baskets, and we've been making these baskets in Africa for thousands of years. These are family baskets. So what they do, you get the rice, because rice actually comes in like a little hull. So they throw the rice up in the air and the wind blows the hull off and the rice gonna fall back down on the basket. And these baskets are so tight, and they making these with these hands, but these baskets are so tight that you can even put water on it and water not gonna get through. Also, I know everybody know what this is, gumbo. I love gumbo, but have any of y'all ever thought about what the word gumbo means? Or do any of y'all already know what the word gumbo means?
Anybody know? We got all those.
All knows. So in the Ubuntu language, there's a word Oshingumbo. In the Shilabud language, there's a word Shingumbo. These words mean okra. Okra is a plant that came directly from Africa with the Africans who came over here. And of course, in the early days, some people, my grandma still put okra in the gumbo, but some people don't put okra in their gumbo no more. But the word gumbo means okra, and it's an African word for gumbo, for okra. So that's just one of the many things from Africa, especially in language. That's one of the biggest ways we've been able to hold on to our African things. In places like Jamaica or Haiti, they've been able to keep on to a lot more of the like dances and spiritual systems than we have in America, just because of the way we were colonized. But language is a big way that we've been able to keep Africa within us. So next time somebody asks you, or next time you just want to tell somebody something, you can tell them that the word gumbo is actually an African word for okra. So in 1931, Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner, he is like, this is the GOAT of Gullah Geechee studies, because before Dr. Turner, the Geechee, they just looked at, and still to this day, but they still looked at just Geechee as broken English, not as actually something separate. So in 1931, he went down to Harris Neck, Georgia. That's near where I'm from in Brunswick. And he recorded Miss Amelia Dolly singing a foreign song. And Miss Dolly didn't even know what the song meant. She knew it was in a different language, but her mother and their mother had passed it down and told them that just remember this song and eventually somebody's gonna come looking for you. In 1997, Miss Amelia Dolly's daughter, Mary Moran, was actually taken back to Sierra Leone and met with Bandu Jabati, a Mende woman in Sierra Leone who knew the exact same song. After hundreds of years, they was reunited through this one song. And also there's a movie called The Language Ukrainian, and that movie followed their journey from Harris Neck, Georgia, back to Sierra Leone and reuniting with their tribe through a song that they passed down through generation after generation. So I love to talk about resistance and the ways that we fought back. I know a lot of times school, they just want to tell you Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, we didn't get on the bus, we got bit by dogs, and then they let us vote. That's not really how it went. We was fighting back. we was fighting back even before they brought us over here. So this is something that happened where I'm from. Like I told y'all earlier, one of the main tribes that we come from are the Igbo people. They live in the eastern part of Nigeria. So in May of 1803, 75 Igbo people were actually purchased in Savannah, Georgia by John Cooper and Thomas Spalding. Then they went on the boat down south to where I'm from, St. Simon's, and they were actually able to take over the ship and ground the ship. But at that point, they are thousands of miles away from their home. All they know is if they get caught, they're going to be enslaved. So they, as a group, decided that they would rather die to even go into slavery. So they locked arms, sung a song, and they walked straight into the water. They decided that it was better to let the water take them back home to Africa or wherever they was going to go after death than to live their whole life working for somebody else for free. Also, Denmark Vesey. I don't know if any of y'all ever heard of Denmark Vesey. Denmark Vesey was born in 1767 in the Danish St. Thomas, and he was sold to Bermuda by he was served to Bermuda a sea captain, Joseph Vesey, and Joseph Vesey actually sold him to Saint Domingue, which is the island that has Haiti and Dominican Republic. But while he was in Saint Domingue, he was returned back to Vesey because they said he had epilepsy. But when he got older, they didn't find no epilepsy in him. So it's possible that he faked his way out of slavery in Haiti to get back to his previous owner. He also spoke English, Spanish, and French. Because he was enslaved by a sea captain, he was able to travel a lot more and see a lot of the world. Eventually, he settled in Charleston, South Carolina, and he ended up winning a $1,500 lottery. He spent $600 of that lottery to buy his own freedom. But the slave master didn't let him buy his wife and his kids, because in America, what they did, they made it so that if your mama was a slave and you are born, you are now a slave. So by that slave owner not giving him the chance to buy his wife, that means his kids were automatically enslaved because his wife was still enslaved. He started up a successful carpentry business. He learned the trade of carpentry, and he was a preacher. He organized thousands of Africans in Charleston. Charleston, South Carolina, I told y'all that's where about 40% of us came in. So because that's where so many of us came in, that's one of the only places and one of the first places to have a majority of Black people in America. There was times in Charleston where it was about 65% Black people and 40% white people. So he was able to get thousands of Africans in Charleston to resist on July 14th, 1822. And July 14th, that is inspired by the French Revolution. He was also very inspired by the Haitian Revolution. He had people from Haiti helping him out. But unfortunately, they had over 9,000 people ready to resist on July 14th, 1822. Their plan was to kill the plantation owners, let everybody off the plantation. And then they didn't want to stay here though. They were gonna get on boats and go to Haiti. It only took two bad people that told to the white folks. And on July 2nd, Denmark Vesey was hanged. But this was the largest, most planned out rebellion in all of America. One of the biggest ones ever was actually in Louisiana. Hopefully y'all know what that is. But Denmark Vesey is an amazing figure in our history and somebody who I can only imagine where our world would be if his plans went through and if nobody would have ratted on him. So these are some of the most urgent problems facing our community. Right here on the left, you can see, and this, most times the problems that face our community are facing our broader community as a whole. So on the left, you can see a graph of Black land. So at the bottom, you can see how that Black line is going down and that yellow line is going up a little bit. So in 1910, Black people in America as a whole, we had about 14%, 15% of all of the land. We owned an equal amount of the land. So we was able to grow our own food, take care of ourselves, things like that. Today, we own less than 1% as a group. So we went from an equal share 100 years ago when we were just getting our freedom or whatever. And now today we have less than 1%. So that just creates a lot of food deserts, food insecurity, because we aren't feeding ourselves. So on the right, you can see this is my hometown, Brunswick, Georgia, after Hurricane Matthew. And the flooding is just getting worse and worse every year. Of course, sea level is rising and rising continually almost every day. And as you can see, even in the background right here, this right here is a liquor store. For this part of the town, this liquor store is for a lot of people, this is the only place in walking distance that they can even go get groceries or anything to eat, period. So because of our land loss, as well as the sea level rise, that causes so many problems. And they compound on each other, because when the flood comes and take the house that you didn't even own in the first place, now you're homeless for real. This is a very recent victory on Sapelo Island. I'm not sure if anybody ever heard of Sapelo Island, but Sapelo, that's the last intact Gullah Geechee community in Georgia. A lot of times when people think of Gullah Geechee, they think of South Carolina. That is the main place, but Sapelo is the last place in Georgia where Black people are actually still in their community. But there is gentrifiers coming in, trying to take over. So they just sued the county of McIntosh County. They got a $2 million settlement. They also got the state to agree to provide road maintenance on a quarterly basis, because the state was already supposed to be doing this, but they wasn't doing this. So part of the settlement is that they're gonna do it. So on Sapelo, it's not like the mainland. Nobody's coming to pick up your trash. You gotta get your trash together and take it somewhere. But they were still getting charged the same taxes. That don't make sense. So they got their taxes reduced by 30%. The county also agreed to provide them with an EMS truck, because when you're on the island, only way you can get on the island is by boat. So if you don't know nobody with a boat and the ferry stops running at 4:30, so if you get sick and need to go to the hospital at 7 o'clock, then either somebody on that island better know how to help you, or you need a helicopter to go get to the hospital. So the county will be providing an emergency service truck, and they will be training anybody who wants to learn how to use that and those resources. There's also going to be a 3-year property tax freeze, because there's going to be another case after this one, because the county has rules that says that you can't build a house over 1,400 square feet, but yet new people have moved over there and built houses over 2,500 square feet. So they're going to go to court against the county to figure out who even allowed y'all to go over that. And then after that, we'll see what happens. So just a little review, and also if anybody have any questions. The Gullah Geechee are a group of people primarily on the southeastern coast of the United States who have held on to much of our African culture and practices. We have a long history of resistance, and so do you, as well as resilience, with a bright future of liberation worldwide. So some ways that you can learn more. Lorenzo Dow Turner, this is the first and pretty much still the most recommended book when it comes to learning about the Gullah Geechee people and how we still are African. So this is Africanisms in the Gullah dialect. Also, you can follow at Gullah Geechee on Instagram. That is, you'll see Queen Quet on there. She's our chiefess. She goes all around the world promoting us and making sure that everything is right with us, or trying to get everything right. Also, if you like movies, Daughters of the Dust is a great movie, free on Tubi. Y'all should check it out. So that's the end of my presentation. And do anybody have any questions?
I think we ain't got no questions, but everybody said it was amazing.
All right, did everybody understand? Everybody learn something? All right, thank y'all for giving me the time to even speak. And I hope that y'all got something valuable from this. Of course, Jalen will send y'all my Instagram if you want it, and I can send you this presentation if you just want to learn more.